everyone, Mary Pat here, and today I get to show off the brand new stamp set with this adorable Yeti because it is just so cute and I just am in love with it. So I want to show you some of the stamps that you get in the stamp set. You get two great snowflakes, and I just love those, two different types. And then the sentiments are just awesome. We've got Yeti to Party, and I think that is just so cute. And then we've got a big old roar, and that's awesome. I know I have boys, so I'll probably use that one a lot. And then the next one is a cute one as well. Is it Christmas Yeti? And then finally we have a sentiment that is just awesome, and that is I believe in you, and that's the one I'm going to be using today. So then the star of the show is the Yeti himself or herself. This is, I guess I'm going to make this one a girl. It's kind of hard to see in my lighting, but I did color the Yeti with a Spectrum Noir marker, IB1. And then I'm going to be using my Spectrum Noir blendable pencils. And I'm going to be using 63 and 64 on here, and to give it a little bit more definition. I like mixing my pencils and my Spectrum Noir markers. I think they work really well together. So I am taking my darkest shade right now, and I am just outlining the entire Yeti there. And you can see I'm just kind of going around the natural lines of the little critter here, and moving along. I'm not pressing very hard. I would say I'm using about a light to medium pressing of the texture of that, so I'm not pressing down too hard on that. And I'm just slowly going around and getting it in. I'm not worried about blending at this moment. All I want to do is go around, and you can see I have a nice little outline. Now I'm going to go with my next lightest shade, and I am just going to go directly from where the line is, and then I'm just with the lightest amount of pressure. I am just kind of going in and going up to the line and moving it out, and then all around the Yeti, and just kind of going around on there. Again, I'm not looking for blending at all. All I'm looking is to getting the color down. I'm going to blend the colors with Gamsol, and so yes, you are going to see lots of different, lines going on him, and that's fine. So I've got a paper stump, and then I've got my Gamsol, and now I'm just going to put a little bit on my stump there, and I work in small areas, and I just keep going through, and I'm just kind of blending that around. The Gamsol is going to take the wax in the pencil, and it's going to then be able to kind of dissolve it and let it move around. So it's mixing with my layer and blending it with the layer of the alcohol marker that's down below. Now, because there's some tight squeezes in there, I've got different types of stumps, and this one is a much smaller one so that I can get in all the little nooks and crannies on there. So I've got the bigger one and then the smaller one, and again I'm just kind of blending them all together and moving it around. And again, you could do this all with markers, but right now I'm kind of addicted to the pencils. I've always kind of been a pencil girl, and so I kind of like mixing the two, the best of both worlds, I think. And so again, I'm just moving along and filling him in, and blending all of that together with that beautiful turquoise color on him. And again, I'm just kind of moving back and forth from the larger stump to the smaller stump, depending upon the space that I'm using, and getting the colors all blended in and working there, so it just looks nice, and so it doesn't blend into the other areas that I want. And that's looking really good, and I'm liking how that's progressing. Now that you have the first layer in, you then can go back in with your pencils and you can keep going and adding layers. So I noticed one spot that kind of just didn't seem to mix, and so it was kind of light. So I went back in and added a little bit more color, and then used the Gamsol to let it blend in. And again, I just kind of want to do a little bit more shading and with a little bit more definition. I love his little hair up on top. I think that is so cute, so I kind of wanted that to pop. And so I'm going back in just some of the areas and adding a little bit more color to where I think he might have some darker fur and everything on there. And again, I'm not pressing very hard with my pencils at all. And now I'm just going to kind of go in again. And if you notice, I'm not adding any more Gamsol because I don't want it to really dissolve a lot of that. I want the darkness there. So I'm just kind of just taking the rough edges off of from the pencil mark. And again, just going in with a different size and getting the little nooks and crannies that are in there. And again, that's the nice thing about these pencils and the Gamsol, that you can just continually work and play with the colors. And again, I just want to add a little bit more. So I'm going with the medium shade and then coloring it in. So next, with his face and his belly and his paws, I'm going with the floral pencils, and I'm going here, I believe these are 36 and 38, and I'm going again with the same technique. Now this time I do not have a layer of marker down. I'm just using strictly the pencils, and I am just very ever so softly using my darkest color and just kind of coloring in around the belly and moving it around and outlining that. And then I'm going to come in with my lighter shade. I'm just using two shades here, a darker and a lighter. And once I have where I want, I'm going in now, and I'm just going to lightly, ever so slightly, color in. In fact, in parts of it, it's still white, because I kind of want to really show that he might have, some shading and have a little bit of a white part of his belly. So I have that all in. And now I'm going back in with my Gamsol and my paper stump again. And I'm just kind of spreading out that dark line and moving that out a little bit and moving it around. And you can see, like, now that I've kind of blended that area, I can go now to my larger area, my larger stump, and really work all of that in. I love how that Gamsol works because you can see it instantly as it's working. And so there's his little stomach, and so you can see there the shading. I really like that. And now I'm going to do his little bit of paws, and since it's so tiny, I'm just putting a little bit of color, not a lot on, I'm not even coloring it in. I'm just kind of putting a little bit on each end of his paw, and then I'm going to just put a little bit of the lighter color on there. And then I'm going to once again go back to my paper stump and then blend that out. And that looks good. So now I want to go work on his face. And once again, I'm going to be using the exact same technique that I used on his little belly there. And I'm just lightly going around with my darkest shade. And again, using a very, very light pressure on both of these because I want his face kind of light. And again, ever so slightly, you can barely see that I've added any color to that. And it won't be until I add a little bit of the gamsel that you'll see some of the color start to come out. But I wanted his face relatively light. And again, just blending that in. And now I'm going back to my marine set, and I want to use 114 and 118 with kind of like a warm gray, and I'm going to use these, and I want to do the little horns on that. So first I am going to do the technique of layering colors right on top of each other. So I'm coloring the whole thing in with the lightest shade, and again, very light pressure going on. And then I'm going to be taking my darkest shade, and this time I am adding pressure to my marker, or excuse me, to my pencil. And I am kind of, you can kind of see how I'm holding the pencil a little bit tighter, and I'm going in exactly on that light, on the line of the stamp. And the reason being is I want to see those lines, even though I'm going to blend it out a little bit, with a little heavier pressure on there. You're putting more of the pencil down. And so there will still be those natural lines. So I'm putting those quickly on there. And that's looking really good. So next I need to then work on his little nose. And I'm going in with my darker shade, and I'm just going to add, just as, again, since it's a small space, you don't need a lot on there, and then just going back in with my gamsel on my paper stump. And so now this cutie is ready to be cut out. So I'm going to fussy cut him out and leave a small little white edge to him and cut him out. And there he is. Oh, I just love him. And now I'm going to be using some coordination black cardstock, and this is awesome because it is smooth, a very smooth texture, so this is going to work really well. I want to do some heat embossing, so I'm going to have my little Yeti there, and then I'm going to be using the stamp set that I Believe in You, and I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to heat emboss this. So I'm using my Versamark, and I'm putting that down. So I kind of had that idea of where the Yeti is going to go, and then I'm going to be using the larger snowflake, and I'm just dipping it into the ink and then placing it around the Yeti, and you can kind of see in the light how that's looking there. And there's no particular reason, I'm just filling them in and putting that down. I think it's going to look super against that stark black. And then I'm going to go in with my embossing powder, and I'm going to be using that with white. And so I can notice that I've got a little bit on there. So my little trick is that I always keep a little tiny paintbrush on there, and I'm just going to kind of take the extra and flick some of that off with a little brush, and so that I don't have a lot of that extra. And that looks really good, so I'm going to go and heat emboss that. So here it is heat embossed, and it looks fantastic. And so I'm going to take some foam squares, and I'm going to add that to the back and then pop him on so that he's kind of coming off of the page. And it looks great right there, but the brand new sequins in the Some Odd Girl store the colors are absolutely gorgeous. And so I thought that taking the sequins and putting them against the white and the black would just really make them pop. So I'm just going through and adding, again, kind of wherever there aren't snowflakes, I'm going to be adding the awesome sequins. So here you have the brand new stamp set with the sequins, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.